Okay guys, we're now on to the third part of our desk light, and that's going to be the top, and you can see it in the top right corner of the screen. So let's go to a new part again, go to a part, press OK, and just like before, instead of going on the front plane this time, because this is the top piece, I'm going to go on the top plane. It doesn't make too much difference, but when you come to putting the parts into assemblies, if you're aligning them to the correct plane to start with, they should appear in the correct orientation. You shouldn't need to rotate things around too much. So in the top plane, I'm going to press normal 2, and then do it again and press sketch. So same start as from the last two parts, and for the next one, funny enough. Rectangle, and smart dimension it to 150mm across, 150, and 65 high. Now, this looks very similar to what we've had before, except the top and bottom distances are only 3mm. So I'll start by drawing those lines on there. There we go. And I'll smart dimension them straight away. So that's 3mm. There we go. And now I'm going to do my lines going down vertically. I need 4 of these. So 1, and then the second one. Remember, I'm highlighting the top line, it goes orange, I click, and then I come down and I click again on the next line, the bottom line, sorry, when it goes orange. I'm being very careful here not to highlight over the center point, because that will fix this in the center and I don't want that. So if it goes orange, it's highlighted and that's where you're going to snap to. If it's yellow, it's just saying I'm here by the way if you need me. I don't like the position of that because it's got itself in line with the central coordinates, and that will mess things up a little bit. It's not the end of the world if that happens, it just means your whole work's going to move around. It's just one of the little things that bugs me, so I avoid it. There are a lot of people out there that will base all their work around the central coordinates for alignment purposes. I'm not really partial to that myself. And now I'm just going to, just like before, smart dimension these. I'm going to start from the right because I've got more room for it to move under there, and then we're going to go 30mm apart. And if you remember, just like before, 4 times 30 is 120, and we know it's 150mm wide, which we've already set that, which means the last gap will have to be 30, so we haven't got to do that one. There we go. And we can now use our trim entities tool again to remove these parts here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if we look at the bottom, we've got a gap there and a gap there, which means that that's got to go, that's got to go, and that's got to go. And the top is the opposite, so we're going to remove that one there and the bit to the side. Yes, it's okay. And then straight away I'm going to replace that dimension just because I'll forget otherwise. Try not to leave things till later on, especially when you're doing things like this with dimensions, because it's very easy to forget. I'm going to remove that one, and that one, and that one, then that one, and finally this little bit on the edge here. And again, these little bits on the edge, they're very easy to forget and overlook or not see, so do check your work. Take your time, don't rush it. Just like the last two, we need to do the bits on the side here, same measurements as before. So I'll place my rectangle on, I'll take my center line, snapping to that center point node, and with my smart dimension tool, I will make this distance here 20. And I've just realised I've made a mistake. This should not be 65, this should be 60, because I should really read the drawings properly, shouldn't I? There we go. So I've adjusted that. That's still at 3mm. That's still at 3mm. That's at 20, and I'll set that to 20 as well. There we go. I'll now go to my mirror entities tool again, and what am I mirroring? What entities? Well, I want that line, and that line. And what am I mirroring it about? Where's my center line? Where's my line of symmetry? It's here, and that's good to go. Trim entities tool again. Make sure you're on trim to closest still, and for this one it's twice, 1, 2. For this one it's only once. There we go. That's the bulk of it done. We've now got to do the rectangle in the middle here, and there's a small hole here which is a cutout for the switch to slit into. So we'll do the rectangle here in the middle first with our rectangle tool, and we'll just do a basic rectangle like that. And before I go any further, I'm going to move some of these dimensions out so they don't get in the way as much. It's best to have these outside of the drawing, just so that the drawing you're working with becomes easier to see. I'm going to press the F key on my keyboard, I'm going to zoom in a bit, and I'm going to scroll in manually just so I've got it where I want it. And I'm going to do my smart dimensions. The height of this I know is 3. The width of this I know is 80. And if I look at the measurements, it says that from the bottom of this to the bottom of this one is 28.5. There we go. And in case you're wondering where that calculation comes from, if the height of this is 60, halfway is 30, but coming back half of this again is going back 1.5, which takes you to 28.5. And then if you look, you can see that this edge line here to this edge line here is 35, and that's the position you need to be in the center. So that will make the center point here halfway. And if you look at it, it looks pretty damn accurate. So we've got that bit done. Now let's do this bit down in the corner here. And what I'm going to do is on the drawing, I'm going to zoom in a bit on that for you so you can see all our measurements there, because it's a little bit difficult to see all of this, so it's always worth looking close. And if I zoom in down here as well, I can see there's a rectangle and 2 circles. So I will do a rectangle first, and let's smart dimension that. 11.4 across. Oh, I was close there, 11.46. And it's 5.6 high. Oh, not as close that time. And again, I'm going to pull these right out of the way, just so that they don't get in the way and get confusing. And then you can see that the bottom line is 5 millimeters away from this line here. And I'll do it over here again just to keep it out of the way. That's 5. And then the right hand line is 10 millimeters away from this edge here. So again, I'll do it up here just to keep things out of the way. Now, for some reason, I don't know why, one of the measurements is, this measurement here has gone wrong. So let's have a quick look at that now before we go any further. I'm going to smart dimension that to 3 millimeters as it should be, but I want to check that everything is correct. Now, either I can redo my 150 millimeters across, or I can set that to 30. I'm going to redo the 150 millimeters across because I want to make sure that the whole thing is the right size. And yet that's coming out 150. It's saying that there's a conflicting measurement. I can't see the other measurement that indicates this section here will be 30. But I'm going to assume that SolidWorks is correct here and that everything is correct. And I did see that it came out as 150 anyway, so I'm happy with that. Again, I'll move that out of the way. I can now reset that back to 10, and then everything's where it should be. Okay, so I now need to do the 2 holes, and they're very small holes, 1mm diameter, but they appear to be smack bang in line with this bit here. What that drawing doesn't show you, and I will edit that by the time you get it, is the distance they are apart. So let's draw the holes now, and then I'll find out the distance that they are apart. So I'm going to draw a centre line going from here out across there, and then I'm going to do another one from the same starting point but going the other direction, and you can see that it's given me these yellow lines to hover to, and even if I hover just off of it, it snaps it to it for me. So I've got a little bit of wiggle room there before it moves it off. So I get my circle tool, and I'll pick on that line, doesn't matter where, and I'll just draw a circle. And the same thing over here, I'm making sure not to hover on any center points or end points. There we go. I'm going to smart dimension these to 1mm diameter. So they are very small holes. And if I double check the measurement for that now, as I suspected, these are 15mm apart. So if I click on the center points for a smart dimension, I can set them. They're 15mm apart. But more importantly, they need to be the same distance from these edges here as well. So the simplest way to do that is to get another center line in the middle of this box, and I can smart dimension one of these circles, doesn't matter which, to that, and I can make sure that is set to 7.5, and it's a good job I'm doing so, because as you can see, it was a 7.45. That would have pulled the switch ever so slightly out of alignment, and it could have either damaged it, or it could have just made it not look as nice as it could have done. 0.05mm doesn't sound like a lot, but it can make a little bit of a difference. Now these are going to be very small pilot holes, so your screw can bite into the timber without having to actually eat the timber away first, or use a self-tapping screw, because these are very small holes for very small screws. So this is a little pilot hole, just makes life a little bit easier for you. And that's now all done. Now the reason I've done all this in one drawing is because I can extrude this now. I don't need to do anything to it. It's all done. If I didn't want to do that, I could have drawn out this outside shape, extruded it, and then on a separate drawing on that surface I could have done these cutouts, and I'll show you how to do that on another part later on. So I'm going to exit my sketch. I'm going to make sure it's selected in my parts tree, extrude boss or base, and you can see there it's flat now, facing upwards rather than facing to the side like we were looking at before, and the height of 3mm, and I've got the hole in the middle, the hole for the switch, and all the casting around the outside for the finger joints. I'm going to save that in the same folder as everything else and call it top, and that is done. Okay guys, good luck.